Okay, my plants from Baker Creek got here today. I have ginger, sweet potatoes, and figs. And I put them in this, it's a Kentucky Fried Chicken container with some potting soil to sit outside here and get used to my outdoors because they've been cooped up in the box that came in for a few days. So get them a little bit acclimated, and then probably tomorrow or the next day we'll see how it goes. Depends on the weather, and I'll get them planted out into the garden. And still have a few plants on the porch. I was going to get more of them planted out today, but it's a little too chilly for my liking. Well, the thermometer doesn't say it's chilly, but that's looking pretty good. The pots are on the front here, and one's in the back. Don't have anything in them yet, but they will. Part of the sweet potatoes are going to go in this big blue one here, I think, in front. And the ginger, I think, needs to be in a pot too, so that it can come indoors when the let me get that wire out of the way. Indoors in the fall when it gets cold. And the figs, I think, can be planted out with my other fig plants. I think today I'm going to add to this video by showing you some specific things. Not a tour of everything, just, well, I don't know if you'd call it a tour. I'm just going to show you certain things. This is rhubarb, and I put it in this planter. Last year I had some in a planter, and this year it was big enough to plant out in the garden in the area where my other rhubarb is. So I'm hoping that this grows big like that too, but we'll keep it in this for this summer. Over here, that's celery, and I'll plant that out with other celery I've got out there. And this is, I believe it's a type of, you can let me know, but I think it's a type of hydrangea. It's where I put my worm bins. I pulled it out of the ground and it had roots, so I put it in that. It's just in a tub of water there, and it's staying nice. This is mint, and let that grow, and lavender, echinacea, and these are hot peppers. More hot peppers. These are, if I remember right, they're cucumbers. Let me turn the, yep, these are cucumbers. So it's a little hard with my phone to get it so that it shows me and what I'm doing, but I brought a bowl out and I'm gonna harvest some lettuce and stuff from here. So I'm not sure what all you can see, but okay. This lettuce is trying to go to seed here, but that's all right. I'm just gonna let it. There's some pretty good, oh, here's one down at the bottom that isn't. Okay, so over here to this one, this has got some really good leaves on it. And just harvesting the big ones, leaving the small ones to still grow. This looks like a, what you call that? I forget what you call this kind of lettuce, but you can see. Let's go over here. Well, I didn't quite get that one quite good. There we go. That's a stretch to reach it. I just need enough for a nice little bit of lunch. So one kind of over in the middle is kind of hard to reach. I'm going to move my bowl so I don't step on it there. Get a little closer. That was a little tricky. Okay. Some other kinds of lettuce right here. Thinking I'm cutting that one and I'm not. There we go. Okay. All right. I think that's about all I'm going to cut there. So, put it. Well, some of the stuff that I've planted earlier is obviously growing, so let me show you some of it. I have a pepper looking really nice there. Over here, I have, I can find it on the camera, there it is. That's an Aunt Molly. That little one is also, but the big one's doing fairly well. I've never grown that before. It's a ground cherry, and I've never even eaten a ground cherry before. That I have several tomatoes that are showing obvious signs of growing. And I'm not going to be doing much. Ooh, my peppers over here looking good this morning. That. Things are growing. I have a little patch of, let's see if I can get closer to it so you can see what I'm talking about here. Yeah, there we go. I believe that's some lettuce that I planted, and it's just now coming up. I've been harvesting a few radishes. I don't see any more that have popped up where I can see whether they're ready to pick. But I've got lots and lots of kale growing there. So I'm anxious for eating that. I planted part of my cucumbers. That white stuff you see around them on the ground, that's ground up eggshells. It's supposed to deter the slugs and stuff, which I don't have a whole lot of problems with slugs, although we do have some here. My raspberries are looking good. So they're looking real good. So we're going to have a good raspberry crop, it looks like. My husband bought some more of these kind of poles like this to put supports closer together so that we can see how they're all spread out all over the place. He's going to fix them so they look like raspberry rows are supposed to. These pinto beans are looking good. Okay, whatever I planted in here is coming up, and of course I didn't label it because they thought, oh, I'll remember what that is. It's either kale or chard, one or the other, I think. Over here, my peppers and tomatoes that are in here have actually done quite well, considering that on some of those cold nights in the 30s, high 30s, but 30s nevertheless, I didn't get them wrapped up covered like I did the ones in the other part of the garden. Over here, my arugula has gone to bolt, which I knew it would because this was last year's arugula. But the rest of it's planted in corn, and I only see a couple of places where there's any corn coming up. But I'm hopeful that the corn, someone said that corn comes up when the time is right. So I hope that they are right about that. Over here, I'm excited about this. My carrots are finally coming up. I planted those like 3 months ago, and they're finally coming up. And a few of them in both containers. So that's really good. These have really bloomed out since last time I showed them to you. And remember, I forgot what they are. But every year I get more of them, and they're looking really pretty. Some with the white with the purple in the middle, and some that are just straight purple. Let me get closer, maybe you can have a look. Somebody put in the comments what kind of a flower this is, so that I know. Those over there are my Shasta daisies, and of course they're not ready to bloom yet. And a little patch of, I think they've gone away, a little patch of, am I showing it to you? A little patch of mint, and a little patch of lemon balm hiding amongst the grass that I need to pull out of there. And here I have a corbel snuggled down in there. And here's a couple of strawberry plants. And as you can see, a lot of weeds. I'm really good at growing weeds. I've got some sorrel in several different places that I planted last year, and that's good. That's coming up nicely. My blueberries are blooming. Goodness, look at that one. It's loaded. Well, other than that little tour, I'm really not going to, unless it warms up, I'm not going to do any outdoor work today. It's just too cold. Well, technically it's not cold. It is like 60 degrees out there, which 60 degrees technically isn't cold, but I'm a wuss. It feels cold to me. I like it when it's around 70, 75 maybe. Beyond that, it gets warm for me, but I like the warm. I don't mind the warm. I'd rather be too hot than too cold, if that makes sense. So, I don't think I'm going to do much else in showing you videos today. Oh, I do have one more thing I want to show you. I almost forgot. Hold on, I got to go find it here. Okay, some onions growing in there, and I have in the back, I believe that's basil. Where'd it go? There it is, yes. And then those are some Stella sunflowers and other things that I've planted in here that haven't really come up yet. But what I really wanted to show you was my moringa plant. This one looks pretty good, but this one, yesterday, oh, he looks pretty good today, but yesterday, I had been taking it outside during the day, sitting it in the sun and shade. One night I left it out and covered it all up with a milk jug and made sure that it stayed warm, but it just doesn't like it. Those of you who, I know I have to keep growing it in the pot because I don't live in a climate where moringas are perennial. But I discovered my moringa just simply did not like being outside. It was like both of them, but especially this taller one, just got all wilty and droopy and sick looking. And I noticed this one still a little bit, kind of turned around there, but still a little bit, but he looks a lot better. So I brought him back in. I gave him a little bit of water, have him under this grow light, the grow light, so that he gets plenty of artificial sunshine. And I think from my guess, and I haven't looked this up, my guess is that I'm going to have to wait until it's consistently warmer outside before I take them back out and try to harden them off again, because they just didn't like my weather getting down into the 50s, high 40s, low 50s at night, even with being covered up, and in the daytime just in the 60s and low 70s. I know part of it too is that I probably might not have enough humidity here, but it should grow as an annual. And in the wintertime, I might be able to winter it over if I bring it inside. And depending on how tall it gets, I may have to cut it back, but I think I'm hoping I can keep it alive so that it ends up being a perennial, even though I know I can't perennialize it outdoors because of my climate. I started out the video telling you I got my shipment from Baker Creek. I noticed on the inside of the box, it says Oregon Zone 7A. Well, maybe on the other side of Oregon, on the other side of the Cascades, it might be 7A. But on the east side of the Cascades, where I live, there might be parts of us that are 7A. Might even be parts that are... mine is listed as 6B. And I suspect in Central Oregon, it might even be colder than 6B because they're a higher elevation and a lot more snow than we have. I haven't looked at the charts to see what their zone is, but so I don't know. I should send Baker Creek an email and make sure they change that on my record, because that has to do with when they send me live plants, although I'm pretty sure we're past our last frost. There's none in the forecast coming up. Yeah, today is just drizzly, off and on drizzly and overcast and a little bit breezy, but not too bad. And like I said, it feels cold to me. And I'm a wuss when it comes to working with it cold. And the other thing is the ground is wet because it rained earlier. And I don't like working in wet or cold. So unless it warms up and dries, if it warms up to, right now it says it's 61. If it warms up to, 70 and it dries out a bit, I may go out and do a little bit of work. But other than that, I'm taking my Tuesday off from too much gardening. I hope that you have good days where you can get out in your garden. I know some of you are experiencing a lot more cold than I am. And I know that some of you lost things out of your garden when it got colder than you expected. I was lucky. I was able to cover up my tomatoes, and I waited to set out the peppers until I knew it wasn't going to actually frost, but it was still going to get fairly cold. and I covered them. I covered both the tomatoes and the peppers up, and they, as you saw, they survived just fine. So that's all I have to share with you today. I was thinking I need to do some baking. If I do, I'll make, well, I'll try to remember to make a video. I tend to think about making the video after I've got everything all put together instead of showing you step by step what I'm doing. That's okay, I guess. It is what it is. Anyway, I hope you're all surviving with the way things are in our world today. All kinds of ideas flying past with the seriousness or the not seriousness, or the what we should be doing or what we shouldn't be doing. And it's like you don't really know who to believe. I know I hesitate to believe the major news because they tend to lean toward the direction that I don't particularly agree with. But yet I don't want to lean too much the other direction either. I think using as much common sense as possible, being careful when we go places. I know my neighbor across the street, she's not afraid of me. She comes out on the street. She goes walking every day, as does my husband, but they go at different times. Today I was out by the front of my house by the street, and she came over and was talking to me for a bit. So she wasn't afraid of me, and I wasn't afraid of her. But we're careful still. So I think if everyone just, if you have an immune deficiency, like some reason why you're always getting sick, no matter what kind of bugs are going around, then you need to stay home or stay masked when you're out, or, use common sense. But those of us who are well, I think we should have a little more freedom than we have. In our state, nobody said we can't go walking. So that's still possible. We don't have to stay on our property. But there's still a lot of businesses that need to be opened back up so that the small business owners don't go out of business. Anyway, that's kind of my opinion. I don't want to get too much into which side of the fence I'm on, because I know those of you who are listening to me, some of you think one way and some of you think the other, and that's okay. I just know that when we're out and about, we need to be careful. But then we should have been careful anyway. And one thing that I have heard that being a retired teacher, I know is very true, has to do with building up our immune system. If we overprotect ourselves, it actually weakens our immune system. I know when I was teaching for some years, if I had been taking a year or so off, which I did here and there, I'd get back into teaching, and in the fall, I would always catch a cold. And it's because the kids had colds. But I found over time, I didn't catch colds anymore. I seemed to build up my immunity to catching those colds. And that's what I think, that as dangerous as this virus is, well, and so is the flu and other viruses that we come across, we need to do everything we can to build up our immune system. That includes eating right, eating as much organic and non-processed foods as we can, drinking plenty of liquids, getting enough sleep. Sometimes I think I get too much sleep. And getting outdoors and getting fresh air, getting our vitamin D when the sun's out, the natural way. There are lots of things we can do to build our immune system up. And I think we ought to all be doing that. And we should be encouraging each other to be doing that, no matter what our opinions are about COVID-19 or any other thing, political or non-political. We need to be encouraging each other. Like I always heard growing up, if you can't say something good about somebody, don't say anything at all. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go for today. Be sure and subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you for those of you who have. Hit the like button. I think that YouTube keeps track of things. I'm not quite sure how, but and share my video with people. That helps my channel to grow. I enjoy watching your videos, and I know I tell you this every time, but I do. I watch your videos, and I'm glad that you're watching mine. So until next time, may the good Lord richly bless you. Oh, I got a kick out of my grandson the other day. Day before. It was Mother's Day, I think. And we were talking on the phone, and it was time to say goodbye. He said, "May the Lord richly bless you richly." He was trying to copy what I always say at the end of my video. May the good Lord richly bless you. Until next time. Bye. Oh, and I might not have quoted him just right, but however he said it was really cute. And then I corrected him, and he said it the right way, too. He was just trying to remember how Grandma always closes her videos. And, yes, may the good Lord richly bless you.